Hello, good morning. I'm Nic Monisse. To give you a little bit of context, I am the design editor at Monocle. I look after all our furniture, design, architecture, interiors coverage. I'm allowed to do fashion every now and again, which is quite nice, but it seems to be very particular, mostly on the manufacturing side. So I don't know what that says about my dress sense, but I won't take it to heart. Obviously today, as much as I'd love to make it about me, isn't about me. It's about this amazing new project that we're gonna talk about shortly. But we've got Jeremy Lindley, the Diageo Global Design Director, and Jennifer English, the Johnnie Walker Global Brand Director. I did have to read them to make sure I got that correct. But over the next, 50 minutes or so, we're gonna touch on a host of different things. I'm gonna do a little bit of setup here to sort of explain why we're here. Then Jeremy and Jennifer are gonna launch into an amazing presentation, followed by a discussion and an opportunity for questions after that. But yes, the reason we're here, the Johnnie Walker Blue Label Ultra launched yesterday, officially, which is super, super exciting. Years in the making. And Jeremy and Jennifer will get into what makes it so special, but I guess to start, it's really pushing the limits of what luxury is in relationship to sustainability and materiality. The Johnnie Walker Blue Label Ultra is the lightest 70 centilitre Scotch whisky glass bottle in the world. And it's significant for a few reasons, and we'll dive into that in a moment. But I guess I've been asked to come up here and set a little bit of context, because as a journalist, my job is about, looking for case studies, looking for benchmarks, and reporting on this sort of work all across the world. It's part of a trend across a host of different industries at the moment. And trend's maybe not the right word, it's like boundary pushing across a host of different industries at the moment. This link between luxury and materiality and sustainability. So in the design sector, we've got brands like Andre World who have developed fully circular processes that ultimately is about, moving towards a world where luxury means something that is made well, it's produced well, it's relying on materials that are perhaps unexpected and a little bit different. This is the lightest bottle in the world that is completely different. Brands like Artec and former Phantasma, amazing Finnish brand and an Italian studio, have recently partnered on a stool, reimagining the Artec 60 stool in a completely new timber, in that the timber has flaws in it, whereas previously we expected timber and materials to be really clean and really pure. They're now embracing the imperfections, the grains in it. There are brands like Bentley Home, which is part of the luxury living sector, luxury living group rather, which are working with a company called Paper Factor to introduce, it's like a paper mache stone into their supply chains. And all of these things are and producing beautiful furniture with this paper mache style stone. And all of this is about challenging the ideas of what and how we make. It's responding to consumer expectations that what we're going to be working with is environmentally minded, and that in turn is something that's luxurious. It's also happening across the fashion sector. LVMH recently invested in Lucix, which is a lab-grown diamonds company. Now, I think, we can all sort of maybe agree that, the original mine-cut diamonds are something beautiful and something to be coveted, but they recognise that things potentially have to shift. So what does a luxurious lab-grown diamond look like? They're working on that with Lucix. Hermes has worked with MycoWorks, which is a Californian mushroom leather developer. And all of these brands are bringing these materials into their supply chain. And what is important is these are all market leaders. And that's significant because luxury brands have the means to influence a sector. They are the ones with the money to develop and drive things. They are the ones that have the supply chains, whether globally or locally, that have the expertise and the skills to introduce these new elements into our supply chain. And I think that's what makes the work that these guys have done so special, because it's going to be pushing things forward for an industry in much the same way that Hermes has done with MycoWorks in terms of introducing mushroom leather into a luxury supply chain. And the analogy I always like to use for this, and I told Jeremy I was going to do this earlier, but has everyone seen Devil Wears Prada? There's that scene where Miranda Priestley, she talks about the fact that cerulean, the colour, whilst Anne Hathaway's character is wearing this blue jumper, and Meryl Streep says you've essentially got that out of the bargain basement bin, thinking it's just a blue jumper. But the reality is it's a cerulean, and it started with a fashion collection that then dispersed into other fashion collections and eventually made its way down into what is essentially fast fashion. That, I think, shows the power of the luxury industry to, I guess, influence and change things. And I guess that's what I'm hoping a little bit to hear about today from Jeremy and Jennifer. So that gives you a little bit of context, I hope, about materiality and luxury and how things are driving forward. And I'm going to hand it over to you to I guess, tell us a little bit about the Johnnie Walker Blue Label Ultra.
Thanks, Nick, for that lovely introduction. Very nice to be here today in this amazing space. As a major partner of the London Design Festival this year, it's a pleasure for us to be here to talk about this monumental project, probably one of the most ambitious projects we've ever undertaken at Johnnie Walker. Johnnie Walker has always been deeply rooted in the values of progress and innovation. And we don't use those as buzzwords, we see them as guiding lights in the brand, because our founder, John Walker, over 200 years ago, behaved in this fashion, and it echoes through the history of Johnnie Walker. And as we stride into the future, our mission is clear. We want to build the next 200 years of Scotch. When you're 200 years old, that you think in centuries. This means not just preserving the heritage and quality of the brand that is known for around the world today, but also advancing innovation and leading the way. So 5 years ago, Johnnie Walker set out with a specific ambition to move the spirits industry forward.
During an internal session when we were thinking about the world of luxury, we asked ourselves the question, what does luxury start to look like in the future? And we noticed a trend. Certain luxury brands were starting to move from kind of ostentatious to, I guess, a little bit more understated, from heavy to light. Whether it's kind of like eyewear, bicycles, or fashion, there's a number of luxury brands who are starting to embrace the type of materiality that Nick was talking about, without losing any of the sense of luxury and detail that they've always previously held. So this felt like an opportunity for us to experiment with our most luxurious whiskey brand, Johnnie Walker Blue Label. Was there a way that we could radically think about the weight of our glass bottles, all in the name of progress? Now, if you significantly reduce the weight of glass, then that gives you a real opportunity to reduce the carbon footprint of your glass. What we thought, if instead of the glass bottles for luxury products being the heaviest, we could celebrate beauty and delicacy and lightness, and therefore have an impact on our carbon footprint. Now, glass is an amazing material. I can nerd out about it. I love working with it. It's completely inert, so it has no impact on what you store inside it. It's made from readily available materials. There's plenty of sand that is suitable to be made into glass, and it's infinitely recyclable. But it's a very carbon-intensive industry. It takes a lot of energy to take sand and heat it to 1,500 degrees, to melt it and turn it into glass. So it was a challenge we really wanted to take on, knowing the potential it had to shift the paradigm, not just for ourselves, but what if we could actually influence the entire industry? So in this quest, we took very much a test and learn process. We got in touch with glassmakers. We tried to learn what was it that led to glass being heavy, how could we change aspects of the design in order to get to strength and lightweight. The only standard that we set ourselves was Diageo's normal quality and strength standards. This absolutely had to be strong enough to be safe for the consumer to use in their own home, But everything else about the process, we were up for rethinking, from design to manufacture to filling to distribution. Those things were all up for a challenge. As we approached glassmakers, we set out to learn the process that would lead to light-making glass, and we worked with a Turkish glassmaker called Şişecam. What they helped us learn was that the lightest possible shape that you can make glass in is actually a teardrop shape, because this is the shape that glass naturally wants to form when it's under gravity. Having done that, we then experimented. You can see some of the hand-blown experiments that we started with, and started looking at, okay, now we've got this teardrop shape. Are there aspects of the iconic Johnnie Walker square bottle that we can bring into this shape? And we found that there's quite a lot of flexibility to change the neck and shoulder profile. We could hint at the squareness so long as the transitions were really quite smooth. What we needed to keep was the rounded base. It makes a very significant impact on being able to save weight. Now, if you've got a rounded base, here's the bottle. Not surprisingly, it's quite difficult to stand up. So we needed some sort of base or cage to support the bottle when it wasn't being poured. The side effect of that then is, of course, you've got something that protects the bottle through the transport system.
And so Johnnie Walker Blue Label Ultra was born from this incredible period of experimentation and meticulous attention to detail. And at just 180 grams, it's just a little lighter than an iPhone, so it's really very light and an industry first. We think it's very beautiful, which is a really important characteristic for the bottle also. Lightweight and craftsmanship went into every element of the design. So you'll see here the meticulous detail in the precise stopper, which is really beautiful to hold in the hand. And the frame, as Jeremy described it, which is made out of bamboo as the protective element, and a more sustainable transportation box that is very beautiful also. Even the whiskey inside reflects our commitment to innovation. Our master blender, Dr. Emma Walker, created a new blend for the release, using mostly whiskey from ghost distilleries. So that is distilleries that are now closed, liquids that are basically impossible to purchase. And it tastes amazing. The rare whiskies come together in a precious, sort of pre-loved idea in the bottle. I can tell you that my favorite part of the taste of the whiskey is the kind of red berries and the light wood smoke at the end, but it's a really refined whiskey. Emma worked hand in hand with one of our youngest blenders, passing on the craft to the next generation. In celebration of this technological breakthrough, we've made 888 bottles. It's a limited edition, and it will be released for sale in 2025 in select markets around the world. As part of the Diageo Spirit of Progress action plan, we have significant aims to reduce the weight of glass across our glass population. And in general, independent studies show that for every gram of weight we reduce, we can reduce a half gram of carbon. That might sound like a little, but it's the largest spirits brand in the world, so it actually sums to quite a lot. And while this technology is brand new and it's not yet available to fully commercialize across our portfolio, it has taught us a lot about glass, and it has helped us on a lightweighting journey where we've already made significant gains across the Diageo portfolio.
Now, most importantly, we decided that we didn't want to keep these breakthroughs to ourselves. So we've made the decision, this is the first for Diageo, to offer the patent to anybody in the world that wants to share in these breakthroughs. So this patent is now available on a royalty-free basis to anyone who wants to use the designs. Because we believe that progress is only really meaningful when it's shared, we're hopeful, as Nic was talking about, to have a really positive impact on the broader industry as a result of sharing these learnings. So it's probably more than just an experiment, Johnnie Walker Blue Label Ultra. It's a little bit of a statement. It's a statement about what we think the future world of luxury can look like. To showcase this, we've partnered with London Design Festival. It's been an amazing partnership, and have created a landmark project to celebrate the art of lightweighting. Liquid Light, it's been designed and created for us by the experiential art collective Marshmallow Laser Feast. Just delves into the innovation and craftsmanship of glass, and especially of lightweighting glass. It's done an amazing job bringing this research and development process that we've been through to life. We'd love you to head down and see this. So it's at the old Selfridges Hotel, right around the back of Selfridges, quite easy to find. And it's open to view throughout the festival, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Every day, all the way through to next Sunday. In addition, what we're doing is doing detailed technical briefings to explain the patent and the learnings that we've had since we were granted the patent. So we've already started applying the learnings from this project to the whole Diageo portfolio. It's got us to some real breakthroughs in terms of glass lightweighting. And it feels too important to keep that learning to ourselves because of the carbon saving you can achieve. So if you're a designer, if you're involved in structural glass design, I'd love to invite you to those Tuesday at midday, Wednesday at 3 o'clock, and Thursday at 1 p.m. So thank you for listening to us. We're going to sit down now with Nic and have more of a conversation about the project.
Thank you. Well, Nic, did we do you proud?
You did. I mean, I could have kept going, which is, so I was actually, I'm proud of myself, if I'm perfectly honest. But that was really nice. I think I really just wanted to kind of set this broader context of the work that you're doing. And maybe that's the sort of starting point for this. It's like Johnnie Walker is a luxury brand. Luxury brands are sort of changing the way they operate. You know, I referenced Hermes earlier, you know, Andre World making their supply chain fully circular. You're pushing the boundaries here. What does the new paradigm of luxury look like, I guess? What is luxury becoming now for you?
Yeah, well, I think through the lens of this project, what we see is while consumers everywhere are more interested in sustainability and expecting brands to do well in that space, for luxury consumers, it's just table stakes. It is an absolute expectation. And we see that in amazing projects coming out from luxury brands. You name checked a few.
But so you're seeing this from consumers being
absolutely.
Like, if it's going to be luxury, it needs to be sustainable or well-made.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really important then that we meet the needs of the consumer. But I actually also think it's really exciting because it's the work we have to do in our business to make it more sustainable for the future. And if consumers desire it, it's even more important. And you gave a few examples up front, but I think that is about leading the way, luxury brands being expected to hit higher standards, consumers having really high expectations. And Johnnie Walker has always sought to lead the way, but these days that's an even more stretching requirement.
Do you have anything to add off the back of that? I mean, are you seeing, are people expecting, sorry, maybe the question is, why have things shifted? Why is it all of a sudden it's like it needs to be sustainable, Jeremy? Why do people, make that link between something being good for the world and good for me, and that's luxurious?
And I think, we certainly are, kind of seeing that shift. And I think maybe we mentioned this in the past, from sort of ostentatious to a little bit more understated. And as Jennifer mentioned, it's kind of become table stakes. So people, I guess in the past, would have talked about luxury products and reflected on, well, this is well made and it's going to last a long time, and therefore maybe I don't have to worry about some of the other aspects of it. Now they're looking at every single aspect of the supply chain. They're expecting transparency. So as well as being something that's going to last for a long time and be durable and I can pass on to the next generation, actually I want to know that all of the other aspects behind that are
that have come before it.
The exciting thing, I think, for us as well, we're seeing a lot of luxury categories starting a trend, and then as you mentioned, it kind of trickles down. So with this project, I guess you could kind of criticize, there's a relatively small number of them that we're making. Does that really make a difference in the total volume? What we wanted to do was push the boundaries and look at it, I suppose, almost a little bit like you think about a concept car, where you don't necessarily expect to sell many of them, but the technology that you develop then cascades to the rest of your portfolio. That's what we're already doing. So we've already taken the learnings and we're starting to apply it to the rest of the portfolio. And I think that's where luxury can lead, and then other brands can follow and really benefit from the changes.
You're talking about it, I guess, within your own portfolio, but the whole opening up sort of thing. Can I ask selfishly, what's the benefit to you or to Diageo and Johnnie Walker by sharing this patent freely?
Well, I think the first benefit is to carbon savings, which is what we want to see. But the second is that every brand in the world has spent centuries teaching people that heavier is more luxurious. And we all need to change that paradigm, and it won't change just through us. So it's useful for us also to bring everybody on this journey to make a difference to the world.
And is there also a benefit to, if more people are doing it, your own supply chain might be improved if other people are also using similar suppliers or similar?
I think it's less about improving our own supply chain and more about improving what consumers want from brands and demand as luxurious.
And then I guess as well, Jeremy, off the back of that, I mean, tell us about these, the responses that you had when you were starting to develop this. I mean, you mentioned the glass makers in Turkey that you worked with. When you're coming with this completely new form, what did you get pushback? Were people telling you this wasn't possible?
I've had a lot of people through this process say, no, it's not possible. And that's one of the reasons actually we went to kind of hand-blowing glass was effectively to sort of break that paradigm. So an awful lot of kind of glass manufacturers, at various points have told me the absolute minimum that you can ever go to is, I've had it at one point being 400 grams, and someone maybe conceded that it was 300 grams. I just wanted to push the boundaries. Instead of thinking, what do we do at the moment and how can we shave 10% off? I wanted to make that giant leap. Now, I have actually blown bottles that are lighter than this. It's just they don't pass our safety tests. But as we went through the whole process, we went through literally in 10-gram increments and put them through the safety testing process. And everybody was surprised that it actually came out as strong enough. So, a lot of people have told me that it's not possible. A lot of failures along the way. If you come to Old Selfridge's hotel, you'll see a number of the failures kind of, demonstrated there, rotating around, still looking beautiful in their own right. But this kind of test and learn process that has finally got us to the world's lightest whiskey bottle.
And what's the ultimate aim, that eventually this sort of form will become commonplace across or where are you really trying to go with this? You're only making 888 bottles. What next?
Well, I think the ultimate destination is a range of Johnnie Walker that is much lighter than it is today. It won't necessarily look like this, but learning from this, we can change the future of our whole portfolio. There are other considerations to take into account. The square bottle of Johnnie Walker packs very neatly, fits very well on a container, and the logistics part of it is a lower carbon footprint than other things. But the lighter we can make the bottles, the lower the carbon impact of the logistics area will be, and therefore the collective effort will be even more beneficial. So we don't exactly know what it's going to look like in a few years' time, but it's a glimpse into the future.
How, as well, for a brand that you've got such a distinct bottle shape, do you have to restart a relationship with the consumer in a way around it's potentially taking this new form? Do you know what I mean? Like that link between, I guess, the physical nature of your product and your brand identity. How's that going to shift with this?
I'd like to kind of imagine 5 or 10 years out that we'll have found a way to apply this thinking to a more square future. But we'll see. We've got multiple interesting tests and experiments, and they'll all lead us to a better place.
I think one of the exciting things about the project is we started literally with a teardrop shape, which doesn't look anything like the Johnnie Walker model. But then as we played and experimented and used different molds, etc., we found we could bring in those elements of squareness. So we've already learnt, without adding extra weight, how we can kind of hint at that. It is a learning project, really. There's a lot of reasons why it's not technically possible to launch something like this at scale. We are working on some of those technical breakthroughs through the supply chain to see if we can. But the exciting thing then has been taking the learnings from this shape and applying it not just to Johnnie Walker, but to the whole Diageo portfolio. And we're getting to some really exciting weight savings without having to lose those distinctive design features that, as you say, consumers recognise.
I mean, I'm assuming we've got a few. Do we have designers in the crowd?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Quite a
okay,
few.
hands up. This is feeling like a university lecture. I mean, yes, I'm a little bit curious, and I could be completely speaking out of turn, and maybe there'll be a lawsuit coming from Diageo after this, but, this seems like an expensive exercise. What is the benefit of doing this for your design teams? Is there a benefit in pushing yourself in trying to just do something ridiculous? I mean, if people are running studios here, sometimes, if you're an architect, it might feel crazy to spend some money, spend your staff team finances on entering a competition. For me, this is a little bit like entering an architectural competition. It does just seem like something you've done, maybe not for the bottom line right now, but for the future. I don't know.
I mean, it 100% has been worth it. What we've learnt about glass and how to modify the shape of glass in order to take weight out, the savings are significant. We're not choosing to talk about them at this stage because it's still work in progress. It's still working through the redesign process.
But is there some merit in being adventurous like this?
Hugely. We didn't set out, this set out as an experiment. Let's learn, let's play. And there's a massive benefit to doing that. R&D rarely has a very clear end result. Fundamental science rarely does. But you do something like this and push the boundaries, and then you go, okay, what can we learn from it? And as I say, it's already had a huge impact on our weight saving programs that are in progress.
That's super, super exciting. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that off the back. Is there?
I mean, I mentioned in my opening that progress and innovation are at the heart of Johnnie Walker. It has been for centuries. It's how we operate. So we don't question whether or not we should do it. We know we should do it because that's the principle that lies at the heart of the brand.
I think that's quite fascinating. I mean, it could be very easy to rest on your laurels, but ultimately what's got you to this point is being adventurous and pushing boundaries.
Yeah, that's what people love about Johnnie Walker.
And I think maybe that lends itself nicely to this installation with Marshmallow Laser Feast, which is just the most amazing. I wasn't familiar with their work, but I definitely would have picked them just based purely on name alone. I mean, tell us a little bit about how that relationship came to be, and this installation works in the context of this bottle. Why do both? Why not just launch the bottle and leave it at that?
I think this of course, we can sit down and talk to people about this and explain the technical detail of it, and we're doing that. We'd love you to come and join us in those. But there's nothing quite like feeling it as well as understanding it. So the thought was, let's bring this, lightweight, luxury, delicacy to life in a really kind of immersive sensory manner. Johnnie Walker is a sensory brand. The process of drinking whiskey is a beautiful sensory experience.
It sounds like you had a few whiskies testing this out.
Just to test the product.
Sorry, that made it sound like you're drunk right now. I don't mean that. You were very eloquent and very clear.
It's a terrible part of my job, having to taste amazing whiskey. But I agree, right? Like a lot of how sustainability talks to consumers is like with a talk about how it's important. There are about 100 people interested in the talk, but people are all interested in how to feel. And when you see the installation, it's so beautiful. It's mesmerizing and enticing, and people spent a long time there last night just feeling. And that's how we want people to relate to the sustainability gains we make, because it's important that it is creating desire and interest and intrigue, not just a logical next step for what you need to do.
My team's got a mantra, which is the way that we'll make sustainability work is if it's more desirable than the alternative. So we're not going to go around beating people on the head saying, buy this because it's more sustainable. If it's just beautiful and desirable because it's sustainable, then we'll get there. And Marshmallow Laser Feast has done an amazing job. We had a great collaboration, actually. Just sat down with Barney, told him the whole story. And it was a very open brief. I was kind of like, you tell us what you want to do. And he just said, I want to bring your story to life. I want to show the failures and the process that you went through. I won't try and do the eloquent talk that he does, but he talks all about, when form and material mix breath, because these are literally hand blown, so you blow them into a mold, and reflecting that it's a wonderful experience. It's quite mesmerising, actually. Do pop down and have a look.
But I think there's also something there about experience and storytelling and the importance. It's one thing to make an amazing bottle, make an amazing product. I don't know if we've got furniture designers in here, but make an amazing chair. But what sort of story you're trying to tell is so critical. I mean, what were those early discussions like? It's Marshmallow Laser Feast. It sounds like they just kind of went with it. But what sort of discussions did you have around how you want to present this? Like, is it purely about getting people into a space where they can be surrounded by it, be surrounded by experiments, or, what are the other stories, I guess, you're looking to tell?
So I think the first one is at a time where we're encouraging you to engage with the technical story because we want to see it impact the world, we also want people to feel. So that was the first part in the brief. The bit I love, actually, is the failures on display, because that's a sort of company value also. If you spend all your time trying to achieve perfection, you will never stray outside of your comfort zone. But if you are more comfortable with putting your failures on display, we'll make bigger breakthroughs. And I think that's, it's evident when you look at the installation that that's the case. And we've colleagues coming along during the week. I want them to bathe in the glow of failures leading to a great breakthrough. We wanted in one of the greatest cities in the world to demonstrate that Johnnie Walker's at the leading edge of progress and innovation, and invite as many people in as possible to see it. And the location in the old Selfridges Hotel and the publicity that surrounds London Design Festival is a really great opportunity to get more people engaged with that.
I want to pick up on something else you said, Jeremy. I mean, you talked about, it just being better, and that's why people want it. I think there's something curious. I mean, I've used the word sustainability 20 times already today, and sometimes it feels like that becomes a non-word because everyone's kind of trotting it out, and how do you wade through the greenwashing? But maybe that's the way to wade through. If it's just a well-made product that is desirable, that you actually want, it kind of doesn't matter anything else that goes around it. I mean, are they the discussions that you're having? Yes, there's sustainability discussions, but ultimately it's about a beautiful...
100%, and it's about desire. And one of the great things about, I think, design, creativity generally loves constraint. So that when we look at sustainability and we look at these opportunities and we think, how can I be really creative in this? How can I build more desire, build more beauty in through this? Then we get to some real breakthroughs, rather than thinking it's reductive and telling people what they can't do.
I like that. I'm just going to flag that we're going to go to questions in a moment. So there's going to be some roaming microphones going around. So if you've got a question, formulate it, think about it. I believe we're giving away one of the bottles to the best question. Is that... I've asked some pretty good ones, so could be in the running. So I just wanted to flag that, but we'll finish on I guess one more thing here. I mean, desire. I really like that as I guess a reason to drive you to make something. Is that something you're actually talking about in the office? Is that like one of the kind of key tenets of your design?
Yes. So when we talk about design in Diageo, we talk about truth, beauty, and ideas. So at the heart of it is we're telling the stories of our brands. We're not making anything up here. Jennifer talks about Dr. Emma Walker. The whiskies that she's got, the distilleries. There's the founder. There's all of these incredible truths that we're trying to express. That leads you to an idea. And people, will always try and house a great design in an idea. But beauty, and that because we respond to that. It's an amazing category to work in. When we get together with our friends, when we celebrate, we quite often have a drink. And
it sounds like a hard job. It sounds like really
reflecting that mindset. So truth, beauty, and ideas. That's at the heart of our design.
That's
philosophy.
Phenomenal. I was going to say that back again because if you've got a pen and paper, I think that's a really nice thing to jot down. But that's fascinating to me as well. In that truth, beauty, and ideas doesn't have the word sustainability in it. It's just something that hopefully comes out of that.
I think that people don't want to buy something only because it's the right thing to do. They want to buy it because there's truth, beauty, and ideas. But when your imperative is to make it more sustainable, we do that then through truth, beauty, and ideas.
Because this is what I'm trying to get down to the core of. I guess for me, while I was preparing for this, it's like, okay, yes, we've got all these luxury brands, and yes, they're making handbags out of mushrooms. That's exciting, but is that what's going to make me purchase it? Probably not. So you have identified that as it's almost like a secondary thing.
Yeah, like I think a good parallel, a few months ago, Loewe launched a sustainable flamenco bag, and it's using the leather left over from the making of other bags. They describe it as an incredibly precious resource, and they have this amazing crafted process for sealing it together. But if that's what you knew, you'd be like, okay, that sounds interesting, but I'm not sure I want one of those. But when you see it and it says, this is the Mediterranean lapping up on the shores of Spain, and you see the blue leather meet the beige leather, oh my God, it's just divine, and it's like click to purchase. So like that's what you want, right? It needs a story in order to draw people in and make them fall in love.
Yeah, so quickly, 30 seconds, can you condense the story of the bottle?
Yeah, Johnnie Walker Blue Label Ultra is the lightest glass whiskey bottle in the world. It contains some of the rarest whiskies. You cannot buy these whiskies, and it tastes amazing, and it is a glimpse into the future of the spirits industry.
Love it, that's perfect. That feels like a round of applause. I like that, that was really, really nice. We're going to throw to some questions. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, so we'll go two at a time. Can we get the microphones here and here, please? And just over here as well, please. This gentleman here.
Hi.
And sorry, and introduce yourself as well.
Hi, I'm Ultra from Wild Horse. I actually specialize in this category. During COVID, I actually worked on Campari's bespoke decanters that were hand-blown. I'm also Turkish. So I went through the whole process with the glass manufacturers and just how difficult it was to get those microns down. So I applaud you for the final results. So my question is, given the desirability of these curves of this glass and how unique the liquid itself is, did you go to a place where you thought, well, could we make them unique? I mean, they're hand-blown. Or did you feel the uniformity was important because Johnnie Label as a product should have consistency? How did you battle that design debate of even pushing it further to make each bottle perhaps, you know, bulge slightly differently so that the person who buys it out of the 888 is thinking, that's my bottle?
So we did think about that. The reason that we ended up using a mold is really so that we could pass all of our quality and safety standards. One of the things we really wanted to, listen, I can make a lighter bottle, but I wouldn't be able to launch it. We really wanted to get to something that we could launch because the discipline of taking it through that whole supply chain has then forced us to innovate in a number of different ways. So if each bottle had been different, I don't think we would have been able to do the testing on them to be absolutely sure that it's strong enough for the consumer to use. And when you can't do that, you add extra weight to make absolutely sure, because you mustn't have a bottle that breaks in the consumer's home. So we needed the conformity in order to be able to test, because you have to test a number to destruction, to be absolutely sure that everyone that we were selling was safe. So it's given us some, I suppose, some constraints going to market with this, but it's meant that we have learned what is the very lightest that we could possibly make that is definitely safe for the consumer.
And then we had another question over here.
Yes. Hi, my name is Carlos. I have a more practical question, I guess. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious to learn how the case works, how you open it, how you pour it.
How this?
Yeah, how it comes off.
This snaps out, and then you take out the bottle, and then it's a normal process of removing.
Oh, I got very excited then. I thought that was going to...
So no magnets, no other materials. So monomaterial is another really important consideration for sustainability for recycling. So every part of this is either recyclable or compostable. So you can recycle the glass, the aluminium, compost the cork, and then this is bamboo, which is also compostable. And the same with I haven't got the sort of transit packaging here, but that's cardboard, and again, no other materials in there, so it's fully recyclable.
Thanks.
We've got another two questions over here. I think as well, just on that monomaterial, sorry, just while they're finding, on that monomaterial, you don't think about the fact that that's a monomaterial, it's just a beautiful object, which I think is what we've sort of been saying all along. Yes?
Hi. I'm Gamze Güven from Turkey. I'm a packaging designer. Actually, we met with Mr. Lindley yesterday. I'm curious about the production, whether it's really convenient for mass production in the future. I wonder how in Şişecam they managed to bring it to the assembly line on the row, and I wonder how you filled, either with the machine filling or by hand filling.
Sure. So it's absolutely not suitable for mass production.
Yet.
But we are working on what are the innovations that would enable something like this to be suitable for mass production. The whole glass production and filling process carries things on their base. So from the second that the bottle comes out of the mold, it transports through the glass factory on its bottom and all the way through our filling lines on its base. So if we want to have a rounded base, we have to re-engineer the entire supply chain from the second the glass comes out of the mold. So we're working on it. It'll take some time. So all of this is handmade. So they're hand blown, they're moved around by hand, they're hand filled. As I mentioned, the only constraint we set ourselves was strong enough for the consumer to use and it not break. We've effectively re-engineered every other aspect of the supply chain. And now we've got a whole learning process to go through as to how to apply some of these learnings to mass production.
I think we have one more.
Yeah, hello, I'm Caroline, and I work for a design agency here in London called Seymour Powell. I had just a question more around the case, just bouncing back on the previous question. Did you guys look at the additional air you were shipping, adding that case around the bottle? Because sometimes we know we do some savings with one material or one part of the structural packaging, but it can have an impact on other aspects of the packaging. So I was curious if you looked at the additional air.
Yes, we've done a full life cycle analysis on this. Jennifer mentioned this kind of already, that the vast majority of the carbon impact of a product like this is in the production of the glass. Transport does have an impact, but relatively speaking, it's actually a very small part of the total carbon impact. So even though there's a little bit more air around the case, there's different components, etc., it's actually a lower carbon footprint than our standard product. It's a consideration, but it's, you know, whenever you're designing something, it's worth doing this full life cycle analysis and spotting where is the biggest amount of carbon, and that I go after that. And surprisingly, transport's actually a relatively small amount of the total carbon impact.
But actually, for Johnnie Walker Red Label and Black Label, which is the millions of cases of Johnnie Walker, we've removed the carton that used to be around those bottles, which massively makes a contribution to our carbon impact globally. And we see that also as industry leading, and hope that our competitors will do the same, because that will have a really significant impact.
Thanks.
Any more questions? One more over here, and then.
Hi. Just a practical question is maybe I missed it. The bottle needs the bamboo support to support it. Is that correct? And also, I wondered, is the bamboo structure, is that first of its kind, or?
I don't know if it's the first of its kind. There's a rounded base on the bottle, so you can't really put it down without it falling over. So the primary reason for having the cage around it is so that you've got a stand when you're not pouring it. It does have the extra benefit then of protecting the bottle in transport as well. We chose bamboo because it grows incredibly quickly, so it sequesters carbon in the growing process really, really fast. It's very, very lightweight, and it's really, really strong. So, as Jennifer mentioned, every aspect of this, we've tried to kind of push through and think about lightweight as we've gone through, and bamboo was just a great material to work with. I just don't know if that's a first, I'm afraid.
I feel like as well, there's almost like this experience element to it. We've talked a little bit about that, you know, in terms of marshmallow lays at feast, but you know, when you're drinking from this, there's like a little bit of ritual that you've kind of built into it by having this packaging. Like there's a kind of double layer to it, which I think is quite nice. Did you think about that? Or?
Yes, I mean, it was a sort of functional start point. But then, yes, as you say, the kind of ritual, the beauty, the shape is designed to feel a little bit like the shape of a whiskey barrel. So that's all part of it, because it's a sensory experience when you drink whiskey.
Amazing. That sort of, yeah, we can go one more, why not? We started 5 minutes late. I was going to wrap that up, but...
Hello, my name is Mine Ovacık. I am a Turkish designer from Istanbul, living in London. Maybe I missed. I'm curious about the package, the final package of this sexy product. Okay, so
easy.
did you mention about it? Because you mentioned about a leather handcrafted package. Is that for this product, or have you designed this, or?
Yeah, I think there's an image on a previous slide. It's a fully paper carton, including the ribbon that helps you open it. We hope you agree when you see it now that it's very beautiful, but it's also monomaterial so that it's fully recyclable.
Oh, okay.
No leather.
That might have been the handbag, I think we were talking about, or the mushroom.
Yeah, but it's,
Thank you.
again, monomaterial, so fully recyclable.
Perfect. Well, look, that's sort of our time here. You two are sticking around, aren't you? Because I'm kind of stitching you up here. Do you have plans later, or?
To meet you.
We do have that, but yeah, if you've got any more questions, how much? That might be one for after, I think.
So you can start saving.
But look, Jeremy, Jennifer, give them a huge round of applause. They've been absolutely amazing.